Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today I have my friend. Introduce yourself.
My name is John Prejo.
And John, what'd you recently do, man?
Went 3-1 with Bystial branded Despia.
Bystial branded Despia. Look, that's a combo right there. Before we get started with the deck profile, is there any shout outs or anything you want to give?
First, I want to shout out to All Pure Yu-Gi-Oh! Really like putting on the scene for Louisiana. Shout out to my brother helping me with the always constantly deck testing me, helping me even build this deck, putting me onto like the different profiles, give me ideas how to build this deck, and just shout out to everyone at Rogue.
I love that, man. I appreciate the shout out as well. All right, no further ado, let's get to the deck profile.
All right, cool. So this is what I would consider just like my Albas package right here. Right? Let's start with Albion the Shrouded Dragon. One of the things that's good about him is that you can make him not only a free pitch, but a free draw. So let's say you want to turbo either Bystial Lubellion to the graveyard so that for a later play you can pop one of your monsters like Albion the Branded Dragon so that you can bring him to the field, then bring Branded Beast to the field, which with Branded Beast, let's say, yeah, you bring this to the field, and then you can then use that to basically as a free pop during the match. And if you have branded banishment on the field in the graveyard, you can then bring that to the field. And then having these, because not only that, you get the free draw here, and if you banish off of you making a fusion like Albion the Branded Dragon, or let's say you use Despia and Tragedy right here, which you can either use to just get yourself Branded Fusion or Branded Red back in hand, or you can just use it to search a Despia card like a Luber. Having all of this and then using Branded Banishment to put this card back in the deck will come in handy with giving you basically 2 free draws in that match and just basically allowing you to play for free throughout that entire turn. So there's that. Then let's get to the rest of the Albas package. 3 Fallen of Albas are important because not only are they they're good second turn, great going second because of the fact that you can, depending on what they have on the field, these become free super polys. But not only do they become free super polys, let's say you discard Despia and Tragedy. You do that, then you can get a Luber out, or any of your other branded cards to take advantage of the match and just continue to play. Where, especially if they have a fusion on the field, or an XC or a Link, you get that Mirror Jade right then and there, as well as being able to get a Luber and then use a Luber for branded fusion. So that's a play that you can take advantage of, so that's good for 3 Fallen Albas. Then for Blazing Cartesia, this
new card, okay.
This card is basically like, it's Golden Ecclesia, but not. So whenever you're using this card, it can come in handy not only as a free fusion, but also it's good because of the fact that if you find yourself in a tight situation, you can basically have an extra card in hand for like a super poly or something. Because of the fact that she can go right back to your hand at the end of the match, at the end of the turn in the graveyard. So that's very good. Tri-Brigade Mercurier, on the other hand. This card's very good because not only do you want to be able to use it as a banish to like get an Albas card to your hand from the deck, but then you can also take advantage of this card by basically making it a hand trap. Where if someone's playing something to try to like just destroy your fusions or just activating anything you don't want them to activate, as long as he's in your hand and you have fusions on the field, just discard this card and negate whatever it is that they're doing. So that's good disruption for this deck, especially since it's not a deck that's like heavy on hand traps.
Yeah.
Then let's go into the Bystial package right here, where you use 2 Bystial Lubellions, for whatever reason it's not showing up. You can use 3 Bystial Sereneers, 2 Bystial Druid Worms, 3 Bystial Druid Worms, 3 Bystial Magmars. One of the reasons why it's ideal to have these many Bystits is, one, not only can you infinitely bring them back with like a card like Branded Regain, because of the fact that if your opponent summons and you just crush them, right? So on top of that, anytime you're banishing for the special summon, you can either put a card back in the opponent's deck and draw a free card, or in yours So basically, you're able to perpetually free draw, and then also, you're perpetually able to use Bystial Rebellion by popping the monster on the field, and if it's Draw Sword, you do that, pop the monster on the field, pop their monster on the field, and then you can go straight into Lubellions using Branded Beast and Branded Regain. Or if you even want to, Branded Loss.
Yeah.
Because basically, if you play Branded Loss and you're fusing, they're not playing anything. So I'm going to go more into that a little later. There's that. Now, these two, Branded Banishments, one of the reasons why they're useful is because of the fact that if you find yourself in a tight situation and your fusions are destroyed, that's a free recursion of your fusion in addition to a free super poly. Because of how its effect works. And not only that, you have to banish your opponent's monster off the field for free if you have enough cards to make the fusion condition go off.
Yeah.
So that's you play this along with 3 super polys and 3 Fallen Balbaz. That's essentially having 8 super polys in the same deck.
Gotcha.
So that's very useful there. And then here's the branded spells right here.
But like when you buy a house, like it takes all your money.
So what makes these cards really good, for one, Branded Fusion, one of the most important starters in the deck and probably one of the best cards in the game, because not only are you able to get a free fusion, but because of the wording of the text, it's not dependent on you getting the card to the graveyard for the fusion to be able to work. So let's say you play this card, someone plays Dimension Shifter. You can play around Dimension Shifter by bringing out Lubellion, and then using Lubellion, discarding, and then putting those cards back in your deck from the banish zone. So that comes in handy. And basically it's self-explanatory because if you're expecting to play branded deck optimally, you're going to need these 3 cards, these 3 fusions. Despia Theater of the Branded. This card's especially useful because of the fact that if you want to like get to a card like, I don't know, Guardian Chimera or Despian Perskenion, which these cards right here, these important fusions, you're not going to be able to get, you're not going to be able to get to these off of Branded Fusion. In most cases, you may be able to get to them on Branded and Red.
Yeah.
But then these two can basically become free OTKs for you, where you get this card out into the field, you just wipe 2 monsters off of their board, draw a card of yours.
Yeah.
And it's 3,300 attack and just free 3,000 right here. Whereas Despian Perskenion, he's especially useful because of the fact that he's another card that can be a free OTK. Because you can attack a monster, free burn them like it's Elemental Flame Wingman, and then he's a 3,200 attack. So if they're playing like a tier monster or like a Borrelord Savage Dragon, any of the Borrelord Sword Dragons or anything like that, for most of the beater monsters it still has 200 attack power over it. So it's very useful for that, and then you get to burn them for that extra 3,000 because that's how strong the monsters are. Then let's get to Branded Opening. This card's useful for 2 reasons. One, you can get it out to get a free Aluber to the field and then use it to get a Branded Fusion, or you can use it to get out Ad Libitum, and if you make the right fusion, you can take advantage of Ad Libitum's graveyard effect, and then use that to bring another, like either a Despia fusion, a Branded or Despia fusion back to the field, or just another strong Despia monster, big Despia monster that's not Ad Libitum himself. But another reason Branded Fusion's good is because let's say you're in a situation where you have a very oppressive board and they try to play Regeki or Darkhole or well, not evenly matched.
Yeah, you got to worry about Regeki out here, Darkhole and stuff.
Any of the board-breaking cards, you can just banish Branded Opening and all of the fusions are protected. Where basically, if you want to, if you have Dramaturge on the field, you just let Dramaturge die, but the rest of them don't. That's one of the things that's commonly happened to me whenever I would play Branded Opening.
Gotcha.
Then there's Branded and Red. This card, even though you're banishing the fusion materials to use it, it's especially useful because let's say you're in a situation where you had to discard, like they stopped Albaz, and you have another card in the graveyard that you need to play. You can use this to basically either kick off either one of your Branded fusions or one of your Despia fusions. Like one of the best cards that I would often use with one of the favorite cards to get off with Branded and Red is Masquerade, which is basically the tax dragon.
Yeah.
So a easy way to get to him is always good, especially if like you're trying to get to Mirror using your branded fusion and Albion to get to Mirror Jade. You can still play for free and get this to the field with branded Red. Then there's branded Loss. This card, you play this card, you start fusing, they can't play for the rest of the match essentially. And then on top of that, you can get a recurrent Albaz off of that card. So at this point, if you're playing branded, you want this card in your deck at all, no matter what.
Of course.
Bye, Jacob. Have a good night, Al. You too. No, I'm gonna head out too. See my significant.
Now here are the Despia cards. Lure the Jester. Despian Tragedies. Dramaturge, especially useful because not only is he a free Imperm, but in addition to being a free Imperm, if you use him as fusion material from the hand or the field, you're basically getting back a 3,000 attack monster. So he's especially useful. Like, let's say one of the boards that I made against an opponent this week was whenever someone played, like he had both Borrelord dragons on the field in addition to his other Dragon Link monsters. I was able to first super poly off his Borrelords to get Garura to the field. Then after getting Garura to the field, he used Garura, and then he used a couple other monsters to make Despia and Proskenion, with Dramaturge being one of them, from the hand. I was able to do that, have Proskenion, and bring Dramaturge to the field. And then for my branded fusion, I was also able to use for Albaz and Despia and Proskenion. What that allowed me to do was that set up a board where I basically won that match that entire turn because I brought all of his monsters down to 0, attacked with Proskenion, burned him for the power that he had, and then attacked his other Bystials. So Dramaturge being on the field can definitely come through in the clutch and setting up an unbeatable board. So yeah, this card can be a free OTK and a free Imperm, so you want him. Ad libitum of Despia, he's also very good for OTK boards because of the fact that you're boosting up all your monsters for free with him. And in addition to that, if he's on the field or in the hand and you use him as a fusion, even if you banish him during a fusion, you can take advantage of his effect to bring back basically one of your free beat stick fusions. So he's especially useful. Despian Tragedy, anytime you're discarding, it could be Super Poly, it could be Fallen of Albaz, or it can be any of those cards.
Yeah.
And you get to get a Despia monster for free, which you get a Luber right here, who's basically one of the main starters of this deck besides Branded Fusion. Because you can do that to search for Branded Fusion or Branded in red.
Yeah, I remember this card was like $80, yep.
Yeah. Man, how I wish I'd have had that version. But yeah, he's also great. But also in addition to that, if you find yourself in like a tight situation where you're unsure of what to play, but you have M in the graveyard, and your opponent looks like they might win, this can be the card that turns the corner, because when you banish him and then you bring Branded Fusion or Branded Red back to your hand from the graveyard, you can then go straight to either Mirror Jade, you can go to Albion, then Mirror Jade, any of the fusion combinations that you could potentially do at that point, depending on what you have in your graveyard and the banished owner in your hand or field. So yeah, these cards especially important. And I definitely took advantage of them during this week.
I love that. So was that a perfect 40, or you still got more?
Oh yeah, I still got more.
Okay.
Like, and then here's just some of the support spells that I was playing. There's Super Polys right here. Play these with Branded Banishment.
So definitely go to 1 or none.
Yeah, it's very much an unfair card.
For sure.
Because they can't respond to it at all. Nobody can respond to it whenever's on the field. When it's activated.
Of course.
And whenever you're playing this with Branded Banishment and Albaz, like I mentioned, that's like having multiple Super Polys in the same deck. But of course, it also can save your butt against like Sword Soul if you have Mood Dragon, or if they're trying to use like Tear or even Sprite. Like one of the times this came through in the clutch when I was playing against someone who's using Cyber Dragon Sprite, and he had evenly matched my board. I was able to keep Super Polymerization on the field. Both times in the match he used evenly match, and I was able to get rid of Sprite Jet and Blue instantly to get Garura and then later Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, because both of those were dark monsters in both cases.
Yeah, Super Poly's broken. You got to keep it on the board.
Yeah, so that can save your butt in situations where someone's using evenly match. Then let's look at Call by the Grave and Gold Sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Call by the Grave, especially in a deck like this that's not using hand traps, when someone decides to Ghost Bell or Ash Blossom or
just like
any
go
of
off.
those,
Yeah, anything.
any of those, use that, you're stopping it.
course.
Then there's Gold Sarcophagus.
Or playing a Bystial you don't own or anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. And then there's Gold Sarcophagus. You can activate this card and either ban Tri-Brigade Mercurier or Despian Tragedy to get their search effects off for free.
Perfect.
So that makes them especially useful.
Got you. Was that the deck?
That's the main deck. Yes.
Was that 40 or more?
43 cards.
43 cards? I love that. All right, let's check out the extra deck.
All right, so let's go to the extra.
I know we just already went over a couple of them, but let's just run through it.
All right, so let's start with. Oh yeah, here we go. The extra deck. Sorry, just a little disorganized. But here's one of my favorite plays in this deck: the two Masquerades right here. Basically,
Yeah, the tax.
tax and burning your opponent for free. So if they have to play a bunch of cards for their combos to go off, they're in for a rough nightmare.
Facts.
I mean, like, we had played this week, and then this was one of the combos that had saved me. I was basically having two of those on the field against you. So, yeah, this card's especially useful in forcing people to either lose their own life points or basically they'll be afraid to play a combo-heavy hand because of the fact they're losing so many life points. So there's that. Then there's Starving Venom Fusion Dragon.
Yeah.
He's especially beneficial because not only is he good for super poly material, but he can come through in the clutch because of the fact that you can take their attack power and then give it to himself.
Gotcha.
And then he has another effect where you can copy that monster's effect too. So if they have like an annoying card on the field like Divine Arsenal AA Zeus or something, you can take that effect and then use it for yourself, basically, with him. So he's useful for that. Despian Coronitis. This is critical to the OTK boards in this deck because I mentioned it before with like if you have like Guardian Chimera or Despian Perskenion or even Alba Lenatus. You play this with Alba Lenatus and you have enough materials you fuse off with enough materials for Alba Lenatus to attack twice or 3 times or 4 times. You can bring their board down to 0 right then and there and then attack them multiple times for 2,500 damage for free. And that's before he even attacks.
Yeah.
Just make sure that whenever you do that, either the normal monsters or the non-fusion monsters you have on the field is either a monster you don't care about or are not on the field at all.
Facts.
Otherwise, you might hurt yourself by doing that. Then Guardian Chimera. Talked about him before. Free board wipe, free draw, OTK monster. He's important for OTK boards in this deck. And even though I don't use it, the polymerization play makes him untouchable if you have poly in the deck. So if you ever consider whether or not you want to put a real poly in the deck for a branded, he's a good argument for why.
Gotcha.
Despian Perskenion. This card is like if Elemental Hero Flame Wingman was stronger. Because that card, it attacks, burns, this card does the same thing. But not only does it do the same thing, if someone has like a strong XC, a strong fusion, a strong link in the graveyard, either you can be spiteful by banishing it or by bringing it to your field. Which, in that match that I referenced earlier, where I used Super Poly, Perskenion, and Corinus, I even took that person's Warlord and put it to my field just to add insult to the injury during that match. So this card's especially helpful.
Yeah, that's dope.
Then there's Dragostapelia. Well, he's a free negate, and you can, if they have a card, if they have like some type of summoning conditions where they need a certain rank or level, you demote their level down, so that might just screw them straight out of being able to make the XE or the link that requires a certain level or star level. Moodragon of the Swamp and Garura. The other parts of the Super Poly package.
Yeah, facts.
So if someone's playing Sword Soul, because of the fact that most of the Sword Soul fusions or synchros have different attributes but the same type, Super Poly him away, bring him on the field.
Yeah.
Then for Garura, this card came in handy against Sprite decks especially, because of the fact that if they're the same type, same attribute, get rid of them. Same with tier limits or a lot of like the more the decks where they're like locked into a specific archetype. This card's good. But also, if their board is empty, free 3,000 attack because the damage doubles. So that's important. Then let's get into some of the other cards of the branded package. There's Alba Lenatus, Mirror Jade, and Albion.
2 of those, okay, for sure.
So these cards,
yep.
the interesting thing about this, with Mirror Jade, if you wanted to, either you can dump Albulinatus or dump Albion. Both of these cards allow you to get a free Branded Fusion or Branded in Red right off the gate. Or if you have Branded in White in your deck, you can take advantage with that too.
Yeah.
So you dump those are free Branded spell searches. But then on top of that, with Albulinatus, I mentioned him being able to attack more than once. But what also makes him cool is that you don't even need Branded Fusion to get him to the field. As long as you have Albaz and another monster that meets the requirements, you can get him straight to the field and just attack twice for free. Then there's Albion. With his effect, he's one of the easiest ways to get out, like, you dump Bystial, Lubellion, and Albaz to the field, to the graveyard. Then you can use his effect, banish either a card out of your hand and Fallen of Albaz to make Masquerade, or you can just go straight for the Mirror Jade play. Once that play is done, if you still have him on the field and you have Bystial Lubellion in the graveyard, you pop, get the free Branded Fusion at the end of the turn, but in addition to that, you get to set up your board with Branded Beast and Regain.
Yeah.
You set that board up, then unless someone just board wipes you with like the hand from hell, you're pretty much controlling the match from then on out.
Well, look, John, that was a dope deck profile, dude. You said 43, huh?
Yes.
I love that, man. Before we wrap up, was there any other insight or anything you want to add?
Oh, when it comes to just playing this deck, as of right now, as long as you have enough resources that come out at the right time, it can be good against Tier, it can be good against Sprite, it can be good against most of the meta decks out there right now. So but in general, it's also just a fun deck to play. So
another question too, do you see yourself like having a lot of brick hands or no?
With this deck, depends on the week, honestly.
I got
Because like this past week, my hands were just straight gas.
Yeah.
Where even when that one Goaty player like banished everything off the field after I made the killer board, because of the fact that he had nothing on the field, I just was able to just summon Fallen Valbaz and finish him off. So it's a situation where if you have the right resources, and especially on this great week, sometimes in life the only thing I can tell those people if they can't stop me is sometimes you just got to know when to set to and pass.
Right. Well, look, man, I appreciate the deck profile, and I appreciate you, let me actually capture a 3-1 finally. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe.
All right, man. Peace.